The rusty container of the auction yard was noisy, full of broken machines, old starship parts, and forgotten junk. People came here to laugh, to buy cheap scrap, and sometimes to find treasure hidden in trash. But most of the time, nothing valuable was found. In the middle of all the noise, one man stood quietly. His name was Daniel. He didn't have much money in his pocket, only a few credits left after paying rent and food. Still, he hoped to find something small he could fix and sell again. That was his habit: buy cheap, repair, and survive another week. The auctioneer shouted and pointed at a rusty space container sitting in the corner. It looked like nothing special, just a dented old box with faded paint. Some parts were covered with burn marks, as if it had passed through fire. Dust and scratches made it look older than time itself. "Who will give me 2 credits?" The auctioneer called out, half laughing. The crowd laughed too. One man shouted, "That thing is good only for scrap metal." Another joked, "Maybe it's full of roaches from another planet." Daniel felt something strange. The container gave off a faint hum, so low that no one else seemed to notice. He stepped closer. For a second, he thought he saw mist leaking from a tiny crack. It was cold mist, not steam from heat. He shivered. Nobody raised a hand to bid. Everyone turned away. The auctioneer shrugged. 2 credits, no one. Daniel raised his hand slowly. "I'll take it," he said. The crowd burst into laughter. "What a fool!" One woman shouted. "Spending money on that trash." The hammer fell. Sold. 2 credits. Daniel pushed the container onto his small transport cart. It was heavier than it looked. As he dragged it back to his old truck, he felt the humming again. Stronger this time, like a heartbeat inside. He pressed his ear against the cold metal. For just a moment, he thought he heard something, a soft echo, like breathing. He froze. His mind told him it was only the wind moving through cracks, but his heart whispered otherwise. That night, he brought the container home. His workshop was small, filled with broken machines and scattered tools. He placed the container in the center and sat staring at it. The paint was peeling, the locks were old, but still, it felt alive. He tapped the side with a wrench. The humming stopped for a second, then started again. The mist escaped once more, curling into the air like ghostly fingers. Daniel rubbed his arms. The room felt colder. "What are you?" he whispered. For hours, he sat with the container. He tried to convince himself it was nothing. Just a machine with some old cooling system inside. Just an accident. But deep down, he knew better. At midnight, he finally decided to sleep. But as soon as he lay down on his bed in the corner of the workshop, he heard a soft sound. Tap, tap, tap. It came from inside the container. Slow at first, then stronger. Like someone knocking from within. Daniel sat up, his breath caught in his throat. He stared at the rusty box. His hands shook, the tapping stopped. Silence. Then, a voice so faint, so weak slipped through the crack. "Help." Daniel's eyes widened. His skin turned cold. His $2 scrap was no simple junk. Something, or someone, was trapped inside, and whatever it was, it wanted out. Asterisk, the first lock breaks. Daniel could not sleep the whole night. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard that faint whisper again, "Help." The voice echoed in his head until he finally sat up, sweating. The rusty container stood in the middle of the workshop like a dark secret. Its edges glowed faintly now, a dull blue light seeping through cracks. Daniel rubbed his eyes. Was he dreaming? No. The glow was real. He walked closer, slowly, each step heavy. The locks on the front door of the container were thick, designed to keep whatever was inside sealed for years. They were old but not broken. He touched one, and his fingers froze. The metal was icy cold, The humming he had felt before grew louder, pulsing like a heart. Daniel grabbed a wrench and tried to force the lock. The metal resisted, creaking but refusing to open. He hit it again, and sparks flew. The sound echoed across the silent night, then click. The first lock shifted. A thin line of blue light shot out from the opening, lighting up the workshop walls. Daniel stumbled back, covering his face. The glow was too bright for a second, then softened like a moonlight glow. Mist rolled out of the crack, covering the floor. The air smelled strange, sweet, but heavy, like flowers mixed with metal. Daniel coughed. He leaned forward, peeking inside the narrow gap. For the first time, he saw shapes. Not machines. Not junk. Silhouettes, figures, they looked human at first, but different, taller, with sharper outlines. He saw the curve of a face, the shimmer of hair floating like it was underwater. 8 shapes in total, all lying still in narrow pods that lined the inside of the container. Daniel's heart raced. No, this can't be real. He grabbed the edge of the container, his hands trembling. The figures didn't move, but the mist carried whispers, soft and overlapping. Release us. Please. Danger? Coming. His skin prickled. He stepped back, shaking his head. I'm hearing things. I'm losing my mind. But then one of the shapes moved. Just a twitch. Fingers pressing faintly against the glass of its pod. A soft handprint appeared, glowing against the misty surface. Daniel's breath caught. It was delicate, graceful, but not human. The fingers were longer, the nails sharper, glowing faint silver. The hum inside the container grew louder, vibrating the floor. The other locks rattled, as if they could break at any moment. Daniel panicked. No, I can't open this. I don't even know what's inside. But deep inside, another voice spoke. If they're alive, can you really leave them locked inside? The glow brightened again, and for a second, Daniel saw one of the faces clearly. It was a woman beautiful beyond anything he had ever seen. Her skin was pale with a faint golden shimmer. Her eyes were closed, but her lips moved, whispering soundless words. Daniel staggered back, his knees weak. The first lock fell to the ground with a loud clang. The sound made him jump. The container pulsed like it was alive. The figures inside stirred, their chests rising as if they were breathing again. Daniel's heart hammered. His $2 gamble had become something else entirely. He didn't know if he had freed angels, prisoners, or monsters. But one thing was certain: whatever was inside this container was waking up. And once all the locks broke, there would be no turning back. Asterisk. The Beauties awakened. Daniel's workshop felt like a frozen cave. The mist pouring from the container covered the floor in a silver fog. The humming grew into a steady rhythm, like many heartbeats joined together. The first lock had fallen off. Now the second and third locks rattled violently, as if something inside was pushing from within. Daniel gripped his wrench tight, his knuckles white. Clang. Another lock snapped free and fell onto the ground. Blue light poured from the gap, filling the room with a ghostly glow. Daniel's chest tightened. What have I done? He whispered. The mist thickened, curling like smoke, and through it, Daniel saw the pods inside. They were made of transparent crystal, each shaped to hold a body. The faint outlines of women shimmered within. He counted again. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8. The hum grew louder until his ears rang. The glass lids on the pods trembled, and then, one by one, they cracked open. His SSSS. Cold vapor escaped as the first pod unlocked. The figure inside stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly like twin moons. Her chest rose as she gasped for breath. She pressed her hand against the glass and pushed it aside. Daniel stumbled back, nearly falling. The woman stepped out slowly, She looked fragile, yet strong. Her skin shimmered faint gold. Her long silver hair floated as if touched by invisible wind. She wore a thin, torn suit that clung to her figure, strange symbols glowing faintly on its surface. Her lips parted. The sound that came was soft, musical, but broken. Who? Man, Daniel froze. You can talk. She tilted her head, her glowing eyes scanning him. She whispered again, this time in a trembling voice. Safe. Are we safe? Before Daniel could answer, the other pods opened. The second woman gasped awake, her hair a deep shade of blue that reflected light like ocean waves. The third followed, her skin patterned with faint lines, almost like silver tattoos across her arms. One by one, they all stepped out, unsteady on their feet. Yet their beauty was unreal, something not of Earth, something beyond human imagination. Daniel's throat went dry. 8 alien women now stood before him, their eyes glowing faintly in the misty air. They looked around with confusion, fear, and exhaustion. One of them whispered in a stronger tone, "We escaped? No, not yet." Her voice shook. She turned to Daniel and grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "You must hide us, please." Daniel's heart raced. "Hide you? From who?" Her glowing eyes darkened. She said only one word, "Hunters." Daniel's breath caught. He looked at the others. They huddled close, shivering, whispering in a strange language to each other. Even without understanding, he could feel their fear. The silver-haired one looked back at Daniel, her eyes full of desperation. "You opened the lock. Now they will find us." Daniel's chest tightened. He glanced toward the night sky through the workshop window. For the first time, he noticed distant lights, moving faint specks, like ships scanning the area. A chill ran through him. His $2 gamble was no longer just a mystery. He had released 8 alien beauties from a prison he didn't understand, and now, whatever hunted them, was coming for him to **. The warning the workshop was no longer silent. The air vibrated with whispers, the hum of strange energy, and the faint voices of the 8 alien women. Daniel's heart hammered as he watched them gather together, their glowing eyes shifting toward the window where faint lights blinked in the distance. The silver-haired woman, the first to awaken, stepped closer. Her bare feet made no sound against the cold floor. She looked fragile, yet her gaze carried authority. "You must listen," she whispered, her voice trembling but urgent. "We do not have much time." Daniel blinked, still trying to believe what stood before him. "Who are you? What are you?" Her eyes narrowed. "We are not enemies. We are fugitives. If you keep us here, you will die." Daniel frowned. Fugitives. From who? Another woman, the one with ocean blue hair, pressed her hand against the wall as if steadying herself. Her voice shook. "The hunters, they will come. They will burn this place, and you with it." Daniel's skin turned cold. He glanced again at the faint dots in the skyships moving in strange patterns, scanning the surface. They weren't human ships. He turned back to them. "Why were you in that container?" The silver-haired woman's lips tightened. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "We were stolen, taken as trophies, locked in that cage until someone bought us." Daniel's chest tightened. He thought of the auctioneer, the crowd laughing, the container sold for only 2 credits. They had no idea what they were selling. The woman grabbed his arm suddenly, her cold fingers digging into his skin. "You must understand, if they find us here, they will kill you. They will kill anyone who saw us." Daniel swallowed hard. "Why? Who are you really?" A third woman stepped forward, her skin shimmering with silver tattoos. She raised her chin proudly, even though her voice trembled. "We are daughters of the High House. Our blood is royal." To the hunters, we are prizes. To others, we are threats. The words hit Daniel like a strike. Royalty, he had not freed random alien travelers, he had freed 8 alien princesses. The silver-haired one leaned closer. Her voice sharp. We are warning you, human. If you stay near us, your life will end. Run. Daniel stepped back, his stomach twisting. Run. The thought should have made sense. He could lock the container again, leave it at some space station, and walk away. That was the smart choice. But then the youngest among them, small girl with golden eyes, stumbled toward him. She looked barely more than a teenager by human standards. She grabbed his sleeve with trembling hands. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. Don't leave us. Her glowing eyes filled with tears that rolled down her cheeks, shining in the dim blue light. Daniel froze. He couldn't move. The fear in her voice tore at his chest. He clenched his fists. He had been poor his whole life, invisible to the world. But right now, 8 beings looked at him as their only hope. Before he could answer, the workshop windows flashed. A beam of light scanned across the walls, sweeping slowly, searching. Outside, the faint hum of engines grew louder. The silver-haired woman's voice turned sharp. It is too late. They are here. Daniel's stomach dropped. The warning was real. The hunters had found them. Asterisk. The hunters arrived. The glow from the window grew brighter. Daniel pressed himself against the wall, heart racing. The faint hum of alien engines rolled across the night sky, heavy and deep. Shaking the glass panes of his workshop, the alien women stood together, their bodies tense, their glowing eyes watching the window as if they had lived this nightmare. Before they found us, the silver-haired one whispered. Daniel clenched his fists. Who are these hunters? Why are they after you? The woman with blue hair answered, her voice trembling. They serve the syndicate. They capture bloodlines, sell royals, and erase anyone who stands in their way. Before Daniel could respond, a sharp noise cut through the night gloom. A pulse beam struck the ground just outside his workshop, shaking the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel staggered back. They're attacking already. No, the silver-haired woman said, her face grim. That was only a warning shot. Another noise followed a loud crash as metal boots landed outside. Shadows moved past the workshop windows. Daniel's breath caught. He could hear muffled voices in a language he didn't know. The words sounded sharp, like commands. Then came the pounding. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy fists struck the workshop door. Open. A voice barked in broken human tongue. Daniel froze. His workshop was just thin walls and old locks. If they wanted, they could burn it down in seconds. He looked at the 8 alien women. They stared at him, waiting. He realized they had no weapons, no strength left. They were looking at him to decide. His stomach twisted. He was just an ordinary man, a poor mechanic with nothing but a wrench in his hand. What could he do against trained alien soldiers? The youngest girl with golden eyes clutched his arm. Please. Don't give us back. Her voice shook, tears welling in her eyes. Daniel's throat tightened. He had a choice. Open the door and hand them over, or resist and risk death. Boom. The door cracked under another hit. A metal bar bent inward. Sparks rained from the hinges. The silver-haired woman stepped forward. She pressed something into Daniel's hand, small glowing crystal the size of a coin. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. This will matter later, she said quickly. For now. Survive. Daniel stared at the strange object, confused. What is it? Before she could answer, the workshop door exploded inward. Shards of metal flew across the room. Smoke filled the air as armed figures stormed inside. The hunters, they were tall. Their armor black with red markings, helmets shaped like skulls. Each carried a weapon glowing with deadly energy. Their eyes behind the masks glowed crimson. Daniel's heart slammed in his chest. The leader stepped forward, scanning the room with a growl. His voice boomed. "Return property." The women shrank back, fear flashing across their faces. Daniel felt his whole body shake. He wanted to run, but his feet refused to move. The leader's red eyes locked onto Daniel. "Human, stand aside." Daniel swallowed hard. He thought of his life lonely, poor, forgotten. He thought of the auction, the laughter of the crowd. He thought of the 8 women now huddling behind him, terrified. He tightened his grip on the wrench. His voice cracked, but he forced the words out. "No." The workshop went silent for a second. Then the hunter leader growled, raising his weapon. And in that moment, Daniel knew his $2 gamble had turned into a war. The human's choice. The workshop was filled with smoke and the sharp glow of alien weapons. The hunters stood tall, their black armor reflecting the blue light from the open container. Red eyes glared from their skull-like helmets. "Stand aside," the leader growled again, pointing his weapon straight at Daniel's chest. Daniel's hands trembled, but he didn't move. Behind him, the 8 alien women huddled close, their glowing eyes fixed on him with fear and hope. He could feel their breaths on his back, soft and shaking. They had no weapons. They had no strength. And yet, in that moment, they looked at him as if his choice was the only thing keeping them alive. The wrench in his hand felt useless. But he held it tighter anyway. The leader's voice thundered. "Human, last chance, move. Or die." Daniel's throat was dry. He thought about the life he had lived working alone in a broken workshop, laughed at by strangers, forgotten by everyone. He had nothing. Nothing except the strange responsibility that had landed in his hands tonight. He glanced over his shoulder. The youngest alien girl with golden eyes was staring at him, tears running down her cheeks. She whispered, "Please, don't let them take us." Her small voice pierced through the chaos. Daniel's heart clenched. The hunter stepped forward, weapons raised. Daniel knew he had seconds to decide. He could step aside, survive, and forget this nightmare. Or he could stand his ground, risk his life, and protect them. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something inside him ignite a stubborn fire. His grip tightened on the wrench. "If you want them," he said, with a shaky voice that grew stronger with each word, "you'll have to go through me." The hunters froze, then laughed. The sound was metallic and cruel. A human, protecting stolen property. "Fool!" The leader raised his weapon, preparing to fire. Suddenly, the silver-haired woman stepped forward. Her voice rang sharp. "Wait." The leader paused. His crimson eyes turned to her. "You can't kill him," she said quickly. He opened the container. "That makes him bound." Daniel blinked, confused. Bound? What did that mean? The leader's growl deepened. Lies. The silver-haired woman shook her head firmly. "Your masters know the rule. The one who breaks the first seal holds claim. Kill him, and your deal is broken." The other women nodded, whispering in their strange language. The hunters hesitated, their weapons lowering slightly. Daniel's pulse raced. He didn't understand their words, but he knew he had just been pulled into something much larger. The leader hissed. "Then he will suffer. We will take him with the rest." The women gasped. The youngest clutched Daniel's arm. "No." Daniel's mind spun. "Go with them. Be dragged away." No, he couldn't allow it. His eyes darted to the strange glowing crystal still in his pocket. The one the silver-haired woman had given him earlier. It pulsed brighter now, as if reacting to the danger. Without thinking, Daniel pulled it out. The crystal glowed like a small star, its light forcing the hunters to step back. What? The leader growled, shielding his eyes. The silver-haired woman's eyes widened. You activated it, she whispered. The crystal vibrated, and the container behind them began to shift. Gears turning, hidden panels sliding open. What had looked like a simple, rusty box was now transforming, piece by piece, into something more. Daniel's jaw dropped. The container was alive. The leader shouted in fury. Stop him. The hunters charged forward, weapons raised. Daniel had no plan, no training, no weapon worth using. But in that instant, he knew one thing: he had chosen his path. He wasn't stepping aside. He was fighting for them. Flight through the stars, the container shook violently as hidden machinery awakened. Panels slid, gears spun, and glowing blue lines spread across its surface. What looked like scrap metal was now turning into something alive. The hunters stopped for a second, stunned. Impossible, the leader hissed. That's not a container, it's a ship. Daniel backed away as the floor under him trembled. The rusty walls of his workshop cracked as the container unfolded into sleek black metal, humming with energy. Wings stretched out, thin but strong, glowing faintly at the edges. Engines at the back roared to life, filling the night with thunder. The silver-haired woman pulled Daniel's arm. Inside, now. He didn't think. He just ran, dragging the youngest girl with him. The others followed quickly, their steps light but desperate. As they entered through the opening, the inside shifted into a cockpit with seats lined against curved walls. Daniel gasped. This was inside all along. The blue-haired woman answered sharply. It was disguised. Only the one who broke the seal could awaken it. Daniel stumbled into the pilot's chair, hands shaking as glowing panels lit up around him. Strange alien symbols filled the screens, but some of them shifted into English letters as if the ship was reading his mind. Outside, the hunters roared and fired. Energy blasts slammed against the hull. Sparks rained across the cockpit, but the silver-haired woman shouted, "The armor will hold for now." Launch. Daniel froze. Launch. I don't even know how to fly this thing. The crystal in his hand pulsed again. Panels lit up, and the engines roared louder. His chair locked him in place. Think forward, the woman commanded. The ship will obey. Daniel swallowed hard, then leaned back. Forward, he whispered. The engines exploded with power. The ship lifted, shaking the ground. His old workshop crumbled as fire and smoke poured from the engines. The hunters shouted, firing again. But their blasts bounced off the glowing shield, now wrapping the ship, and then, with a deafening roar, the ship shot into the sky. Daniel's body pressed against the seat as stars streaked above. The world below shrank, the hunter's red eyes fading into darkness. He gritted his teeth, heart pounding. The youngest alien girl clung to his arm, trembling. We're safe. For now, Daniel stared at the glowing panels, his hands gripping the controls. Safe. We're in space with a ship I don't understand, and killers chasing us. The silver-haired woman leaned closer, her glowing eyes sharp. You don't need to understand it. The ship chose you. Trust it. Daniel blinked. Chose me. Before she could explain, alarms rang. A red light flashed on the screen. Enemy ships. The hunters had followed. Their dark warcraft appeared behind them, faster and larger. Glowing weapons aimed at his small vessel. Daniel's stomach twisted. They're catching up, the blue-haired woman shouted. Use evasive flight. Daniel panicked. I don't know what that means. Think survive. The silver-haired one commanded. Daniel squeezed the crystal and shouted, survive. The ship responded instantly, twisting sideways with impossible speed. Enemy blasts flew past, missing by inches. The cockpit shook violently, but the ship danced through the stars like it was alive. The women gasped, holding onto the seats, but their eyes widened with hope. Daniel stared ahead, sweat dripping down his face. He had never flown anything beyond an old truck. Yet here he was, outmaneuvering alien warships in a vessel that seemed tied to his thoughts. The hunters kept firing, but Daniel gritted his teeth. Not today. For the first time in his life, he wasn't running from trouble. He was flying straight into it, protecting 8 lives that now depended on him, and as the stars stretched before him, Daniel realized something chilling. This was only the beginning of the chase. Asterisk secrets of the container. The stars rushed past the cockpit window as the ship darted through the void. Daniel's hands gripped the glowing controls, his knuckles white. His chest heaved with every sharp turn the ship made. Behind them, the hunters' vessels still chased, firing bursts of red energy. The silver-haired woman's voice was calm but urgent. "We need to outrun them. This ship is fast, but not forever." Daniel shot her a desperate look. "Then tell me what this thing is. Why was it hidden inside a rusty box?" For a moment, no one answered. The women exchanged glances, their glowing eyes full of secrets. Finally, the one with silver tattoos on her skin stepped forward. Her voice was steady, almost proud. "It is not just a container. It is a royal vessel. A sanctuary ship." Daniel frowned. "A sanctuary ship." The woman nodded. "It was built long ago, meant to hide and protect the bloodline of the high houses. Only those outside our world could open it. That is why the locks responded to you." Daniel blinked, stunned. "So, I was just some kind of key." The silver-haired woman leaned closer. "More than a key. The ship bonded with you. It reads your thoughts, your fear, even your will to fight. That is why it obeys." Daniel felt the crystal pulse in his palm again. He swallowed hard. "This thing. It chose me." The youngest girl with golden eyes nodded softly. "Yes, you are its bearer now. And us." Her voice trembled. "We are yours to protect." Daniel's stomach twisted. He was no soldier, no hero. He was just a man who had wasted 2 credits on junk. Yet here he was, holding the fate of 8 alien royals in his hands. The ship's alarms beeped again. Daniel jerked his head toward the screen. Enemy ships were closing fast. The blue-haired woman rushed forward. "There's more than weapons here. The ship carries knowledge. Secrets from our empire. If the hunters capture it, they will control the galaxy." Daniel's heart stopped. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" The silver-tattooed woman raised her arm, and a glowing panel appeared. Strange symbols shifted into human words before his eyes. His jaw dropped as he read, "Star maps of uncharted systems. Designs for weapons stronger than anything Earth had ever seen. Genetic records of alien bloodlines. Codes to bypass Empire defenses." Daniel leaned back, breathless. This wasn't just a ship. It was a vault of power. Enough to make empires fall. Enough to start wars. The silver-haired woman's voice softened. "This is why we were hunted. Not only because of who we are, but because of what we carry." Daniel shook his head. "And you expect me to protect all this? I can barely fly this thing." The youngest girl gripped his arm tightly, her golden eyes pleading. "You already protected us. You did what no one else dared." Daniel's chest ached. He wanted to argue, to tell them they were wrong. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He had made his choice when he stood against the hunters. There was no turning back. A sudden blast shook the ship. Daniel's eyes shot to the screen. The hunters were closer now, their weapons burning bright. The silver-haired woman looked at him with a fierce expression. You are human. That is your advantage. They will never expect how you fight. Daniel gritted his teeth, gripping the controls. He didn't understand why, but he felt the ship waiting for him. Ready to follow his lead. He wasn't just carrying alien royalty anymore. He was carrying the galaxy's most dangerous secret, and the hunters would do anything to take it back. Asterisk. Humanity's courage. The cockpit shook violently as another blast struck the rear shields. Sparks lit up the ceiling, and the alarm screamed in warning. Daniel's pulse pounded like a drum, but he refused to let go of the controls. They're faster. The blue-haired woman cried. If they catch us, it's over. Daniel's eyes darted to the screen. 3 hunter ships were in formation, moving like predators, circling their prey. Their black hulls glowed red at the edges, weapons locking onto his small vessel. The silver-haired woman leaned forward, her voice sharp. Don't fight like them. You are not one of them. Think as a human would. Daniel swallowed hard. Think like a human. What does that even mean? Unexpected, she whispered. The hunters fired again. Daniel yanked the controls to the left, and the ship twisted sharply, dodging the energy beams. His stomach flipped, but he forced himself to keep steady. On Earth, Daniel had never flown anything but ground trucks. He remembered weaving through crowded streets, dodging potholes, and fixing engines with tape and wire when no proper tools were left. He wasn't trained, but he was stubborn, and stubbornness was something aliens didn't understand. A sudden idea struck him. He glanced at the asteroid belt on the radar. Hold on. He shouted before the women could question him. Daniel steered the ship straight toward the thick cluster of spinning rocks. The golden-eyed girl gasped. Are you insane? We'll be crushed. Daniel gritted his teeth. So will they if they follow. The ship plunged into the asteroid field, weaving between massive spinning stones. The hunters roared behind, firing wildly. Explosions lit up the rocks, sending shards flying. Daniel ducked low, his eyes locked on the path ahead. The silver-haired woman clutched her seat, her eyes wide. He's improvising. Daniel smiled faintly, despite the sweat dripping down his face. That's what humans do best. He pulled the ship through tight gaps, scraping against jagged stone, each move inches from disaster. The hunters tried to follow, but their larger ships struggled. One clipped an asteroid and spun out, exploding in a shower of fire. The alien women gasped, their glowing eyes wide with shock. Did he just? The blue-haired one whispered. Daniel smirked. One down. The remaining hunters pushed harder, trying to cut him off. Daniel's mind raced. He remembered tricks from his childhood: kites tied with strings, games played in tight alleys, slipping past bullies by moving where no one expected. He spotted 2 asteroids spinning close together, leaving only a narrow slit between them. Any pilot would avoid it. Daniel aimed straight for it. Daniel, no. The silver-haired woman cried. The hunters roared behind, certain he would crash. At the last second, Daniel cut the engines, letting the ship drift weightless. The sanctuary ship slid silently through the narrow gap, scraping but holding together. The hunters fired too late, their blasts striking the rocks. Boom! The 2 asteroids collided, crushing the lead hunter ship into fragments. The cockpit shook, alarms blaring. But Daniel laughed breathlessly. That's 2. The last hunter pulled back, afraid. It fired one more desperate shot, but Daniel spun the ship in a sudden roll, letting the blast fly past. Then he pushed the engines to maximum. Bursting out of the asteroid field into open space, silence filled the cockpit for a moment. The women stared at him, stunned. The silver-haired one whispered, almost to herself, he fights with chaos, yet survives. The youngest girl clung to Daniel's arm, her golden eyes shining. You saved us. Again, Daniel exhaled, his chest aching, his hands trembling on the controls. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained. But he was human, and sometimes that was enough. Behind them, the last hunter's ship turned away, retreating into the shadows. For now, they were safe. But Daniel knew the fight wasn't over. The galaxy had seen what a human could do, and it would never forget. 8 Beauties. One human, the stars stretched endless outside the cockpit window. But for the first time since the chase began, silence filled the ship. The alarms had stopped. The last hunter's ship had turned away. Daniel leaned back in the pilot's chair, his body shaking from exhaustion. His hands still gripped the glowing controls, but his strength was fading. Sweat ran down his forehead. Behind him, the 8 alien women sat together, whispering in their soft, musical language. Their glowing eyes often shifted toward him, some with wonder, some with confusion, and some with something deeper he couldn't name. Finally, the silver-haired woman stood. She walked toward Daniel, her steps graceful, her presence commanding. "You fought for us," she said, her voice steady. "No human should have stood against the hunters. Yet you did." Daniel forced a tired smile. "Didn't really have a choice, did I?" "They were going to kill me too." Her eyes softened. "You had a choice, to hand us over, to live. But you chose otherwise. That makes you different." The golden-eyed girl slipped closer, her hand resting lightly on Daniel's arm. "You saved us when no one else would." Her voice trembled, but her eyes shone with warmth. Daniel looked at them all, still stunned by the path his life had taken. "I was just a man with nothing. A mechanic who spent 2 credits on junk." The blue-haired woman shook her head. "You are not just a man. The sanctuary ship does not bond with anyone lightly. It chose you. That means you are now part of us." The silver-tattooed one raised her chin proudly. "According to the ancient law, the one who awakens the ship becomes protector of those it carries. You are bound to us." Daniel's eyes widened. "Protector. Bound. I didn't sign up for this." The silver-haired woman's lips curved faintly. "Perhaps not. But destiny does not ask permission." The words hung heavy in the air. Daniel rubbed his face, trying to process. 8 alien royals. A ship carrying secrets powerful enough to shake empires. And him, just an ordinary man, now caught in the center of it all. He looked at them again. Their fear had not vanished, but now there was hope in their eyes. Hope directed at him. His heart sank and rose at the same time. So what now? Where do we even go? The silver-haired woman placed her hand on the glowing panel. A star map appeared, filled with countless systems. "We must reach the outer veil. Their allies may still exist. But the journey will be dangerous." Daniel sighed. "Of course it will be." The golden-eyed girl leaned closer, whispering, "But with you, we have a chance." Daniel stared at her. For the first time in years, he felt something he had lost long ago: purpose. He stood slowly, the crystal in his hand glowing brighter. He looked at the 8 women, each unique, each powerful in her own way. "All right," he said, his voice firm. "If I'm stuck with this, then I'll protect you. All of you. No matter what comes." The women exchanged looks, their glowing eyes softening. The silver-haired one bowed her head slightly. "Then we are yours, protector." Daniel swallowed hard. A poor mechanic, now sworn guardian of 8 alien beauties and the secrets they carried. He looked at the endless stars ahead. His life as he knew it was gone. The galaxy would hunt them, test them, and maybe try to break them. But for the first time, Daniel didn't feel alone. He felt ready. What began as a 2-credit joke had turned into a destiny greater than anything he had imagined. And with 8 alien beauties by his side, the galaxy was about to learn what it truly meant to face a human. Asterisk,